has come to reclaim our world. Welcome back, Commander.
Incoming transmission.
Day 20, all 3 topics, arms and armor. So we're going to be looking at, Beagle Rush did an excellent intro to the first tier of arms and armor and equipment. And that is what I'm going to be basing most of my information off of. We saw a couple basic weapon mods. We saw a couple advanced weapon mods. We saw the 3 different suits of armor. We saw a number of grenade type weapons. We saw a number of special ammunition types and a couple of other excellent things. As well as upgraded class specific items. That is the gremlin, the pistol, the grenade launcher, and the sword. So let's start first with the most basic stuff. As you upgrade the gremlin, you gain extra hack chance and extra damage on gremlin related damage dealing abilities. When you upgrade the sword, you of course gain extra damage. I'm not sure if there are extra effects that you can add onto the swords, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were electric swords that stun, similar to what the Advent carry, and even swords that do other things like possibly shred or, I don't know, have an instant chance to kill like the repeater mod adds to your weapons. For pistols, we got to look at one of the upgraded pistols, and it seemed to only deal more damage than the initial pistol. And I think they're going to be careful on gating how powerful the pistols get, because of the number of attacks you get with a pistol is way more than any weapon, and therefore any upgrade is multiplied significantly. And so pistols may upgrade the least, seemingly, but that's because of the huge number of attacks you can get. And lastly, the grenade launcher rounds out the class-specific items. This is available to the Grenadiers, and it seems to, when upgraded, increase your range and the radius of your grenades, radius is huge. So that's really cool. And I think advanced grenade launchers are awesome, and the hack is also awesome. So the gremlin and the grenade launcher look particularly good to me. The sword would be great if you're focusing on the sword, and the pistol is great. So all of those kind of must-haves this ASAP. The grenade launcher looking particularly good, but the pistol and the sword being necessary lest you leave out some of your soldiers due to their build being really reliant on it. The gremlin as well. So the next thing, let's go into the different suits of armor. So we saw that there was the standard armor. It gives you 2 pockets. One note, one restriction, it seems you can't put grenades in both of them, from what I've heard, which, means that you can take 1 or 2 grenades if you're really working it. On a Grenadier, and I think that's fine. I think the extra pocket is for something else, and there's plenty of awesome things to put in those pockets, but you just can't stack too many grenades apparently per soldier. There is the spider suit. Apparently all armors have around the same amount of health bonus, so you're not giving up on survivability. You're mainly choosing what additional tactical options you would like to have. So the standard suit of armor grants you the flexibility of bringing lots of loadout equipment, which is about as powerful as the loadout equipment is to you. Beagle Rush suggested this was particularly good on the specialist, who has multiple pocket items that are very valuable, whereas the other classes tend to benefit from the armor specials that the spider suit and the exosuit grant. So the spider suit grants you the standard health amount, increased mobility. We saw +3 mobility, and this was on not your initial armor, but the first set of armor you could research, the tier 1 researched armor. It gives you 20 dodge. Dodge is a chance out of 100 to have it looks like damage reduced by half when hit. You've seen the Vipers do it. If you've watched much of the playthrough, they are very dodgy, and it is gonna prevent. It can prevent a ton of damage, especially late game. So I think dodge is really important. You also get dodge from hunkering. So if your tactics revolve around hunkering, then maybe the spider suit is for you because it comes with damage reduction in that form. And it comes with a grapple, and it looks like the grapple is much better than it was in XCOM 2012, because now it's a free action, though it has like a 3-turn cooldown that lets you a free mobility action. This is huge for any class, really, but there are quite a few classes that can gain a lot from it. And the cool thing, if you ever really got down and used it in 2012, in XCOM 2012, you could grapple to a ton of stuff that you might not expect, like low ridges that are forward or backwards from your current position, the UFO rooftops, regular rooftops, the more expected things. You could grapple up onto like the tops of these awnings that were hanging off the sides of buildings, places you might not normally expect to go, onto the tops of like larger trucks with flat tops. The grappling was very flexible, and to have it as a free action is really good for classes that need to move around the battlefield without using up their other actions. Particularly, I agree with Beagle Rush when he said the Ranger and the Sharpshooter benefit, because the Sharpshooter can't fire their sniper rifle, or they can use all of their actions really offensively, either with a sniper rifle or multiple pistol shots. And the Ranger, of course, needs to close distance to use their sword if that's what they're going to do, or to use rapid fire, since the aim penalty kind of indicates that being in close proximity will help. Moving on to the exosuit, which seems to be what your third and final choice for armor at tier 1. Or I suppose this is tier 2, it depends on how you think about it. The exosuit comes with a heavy weapon slot. Initially, the rocket launcher. This is generally a one charge, extra powerful area of effect type attack. Or, you know, I would say they're all pretty much more powerful than a grenade. It comes with a little bit of extra armor points, so it actually comes with damage reduction, which of course can be shredded, I'm sure. And it comes with maybe an extra health. So a little bit tougher, a little bit more resistant, and a heavy weapon slot. And of course you're passing up on the extra pocket and the mobility, dodge, and grapple of the other two armors to take this. The heavy weapon slot, it's easy to say this works really well with the salvo ability of the Grenadier class, as well as the blast padding ability, because it stacks that armor, which can be really powerful. Of course, armor and health stack well together, so taking multiple health bonuses to go with your high armor, and dodge stacks really well with everything. So if you have all three of those, the trifecta of defense, armor, health, and dodge, you can make a really tanky character. I suggest the exosuit depending on the heavy weapons you have available. There's the flamethrower, which is fairly long range. It covers a wide area of effect, but kind of requires you to be at least mid-range, which would be good on a ranger who's playing linebacker for your team, especially because the flamethrower has a chance to panic. It means that whipping that out in an emergency circumstance could leave the enemy panicking instead of shooting at you when you accidentally let yourself be flanked. The exosuit, anyone who's going to see heavy combat should see it. Anyone who's going to tank, the exosuit really powerful. The spider suit, more mobility focused, the exosuit less. For those when mobility doesn't matter, go with the exosuit, unless you definitely need that extra item slot from the standard armor. Note that these armors are available from the plated armor research, one of the initial researches. Alright, so let's move on from armor. Let's go to thrown weapons. There's the standard grenade, which does some damage and shreds. some of the upgraded variants that you can get, probably from the Proving Ground, I would think. I know the different types of grenades are available there. I'm not sure if all types of grenades come from there. The battle scanner is interesting. This is one of my battle scanners grant visibility where you throw them. You probably can get away without them in the vanilla XCOM campaign, but learning to use them and learning how powerful they really are was something I put off until I was playing Long War and really regretted, because they are fantastic for planning out your moves with some degree of intelligence, since they reveal an area for, I think it's probably 2 rounds still, and they do not activate pods in that area, though you can snipe using them and of course launch grenades. It kind of gives you, it's similar to concealment is how I would say. Consider anyone revealed only by the battle scanner you are concealed against, and you can initiate combat with, you know, launched grenades, sharpshooter snipes, tons of Overwatch against them, as long as you stay outside their standard sight range. So battle scanner is really nice, but there is an art to using them effectively, and they do take up valuable slots. The plasma grenade we saw dealt solid damage, and it shredded 2 points. It seemed like the upgrade to the standard grenade to me, if I had to guess. The frag grenade, I guess, would be the basic. The incendiary grenade says it deals the most blast damage of all grenades, and it can cause the burning status to non-fire immune enemies. And it shreds 1, so it shreds less than the plasma grenade at that, let's go ahead and call it tier 2, my mistake, at tier 2 technology. The acid grenade says that it shredded the most armor, which was 4 points, which is a ton. Deals the acid status, which deals damage over time, and it may, I wouldn't be surprised if burning or acid also reduced mobility, aim, willpower, or Lord knows what. Causes you to panic. Generally taking damage is the kind of thing that can trigger panic, so burning or acid has an intrinsic ability to cause panic in soldiers, I would suspect. Immunities, of course, apply to acid. And acid grenades, I think, are really important to note that if you don't have Shredder on your cannons or a reliable way of removing enemy armor, acid grenades are going to be your makeup, your fill-in-the-gap weapon, and you're going to need to preserve them for those high armor enemies if you possibly can. Because if you don't, you're going to be doing next to no damage to that sectopod that you could have shredded most of its armor with a single grenade. So, until you're well into the map, maybe ever, you need to preserve those acid grenades if they are your only hope of shredding high armor targets. But they do seem awesome. We saw a mimic beacon, which is interesting because it creates a holographic target which draws enemy fire for 1 turn or until its health is depleted. Presumably it can be missed, maybe it's dodgy, I don't know, but you can bet if it's under incredibly heavy fire, it will not save you from a full turn of enemy fire. But it's probably awesome, and since it only lasts 1 turn, who cares, just let it die. But that is a nice item to pull, and just as a kind of reserve, especially if you like to play really risky. It could certainly save your close-up enemies a lot of trouble, or it might be nice on a sniper who's being flanked as a kind of decoy. Let's talk about personal combat stims. The only ones I saw were health, mobility, dodge, and aim. They are basically, every soldier has one of these slots, so everyone can have a single personal combat stim. You gather these from enemy loot drops, and they get better as you find advanced ones, and then they can be increased by a Guerrilla Tactics School upgrade that just universally increases the effect of all personal combat stims. They seem to basically just enhance your raw stats, so I wouldn't be surprised if there were, say, a hack one, a will one. There might even be like late game armor, you know, but just expect them to kind of enhance your raw stats. It would be cool if some of them added special abilities, but who knows. So far we've only seen raw stat increases. It's good to note that personal combat stims, like aim, are the only ways to enhance your, are some of the only fewer ways to enhance your pistol. Since your pistol can't be modded with weapon mods like the sniper rifle the sharpshooter has, the aim personal combat stim is especially good for pistol gunslingers. Moving on. Okay, so I would say health is good for anyone who is going to draw fire. Mobility is good for anyone who either needs to get in really close or who often needs to catch up ground. But primarily for getting close, like with the sword, I would think mobility would be one of the few soldiers I would put that on, as a sword ranger or a rapid fire ranger, a running gun ranger, who focused on close range attacks. Health is always going to be good and just going to keep your soldiers on their feet and make them more resistant. You may find that when the enemies up the damage they deal, that health is your go-to over other kind of nicer to have ones. Health is the guaranteed to always be good when you're on the rocks. Dodge is nice. It's probably best to stack dodge if at all possible with other forms of defense, including itself. And especially armor, because if you dodge an attack and it deals half damage, then armor is applied after that and may completely negate it if you have 2 or 3 armor and it was a, say, 6 damage attack. But for the most part, dodge isn't reliable. It's just nice, unless you really go heavily into it from other sources. Okay, so moving on from personal combat stims, let's talk about other pocket items I saw. We saw the Hazmat Vest, which grants 2 extra health as well as immunity to fire, acid, and poison. Beagle pointed out that fire, acid, and poison are really debilitating to, they can be debilitating to your mobility, which can really harm blade rangers, and all sorts of other stuff. And since blade rangers often have to close the distance, and he liked to use all sorts of fire, acid, and poison grenades on the enemies, his ranger benefited a lot from being able to run through that stuff without causing damage, without taking damage. Plus, the extra health is just a nice survivability bonus for a riskier class. I also saw the Talon rounds. These looked awesome. Plus 20 crit chance, 20% crit chance, and plus 1 damage when you crit. These are excellent, especially if you're stacking crit. Really good with characters that you intend to flank a lot with, and really good with characters you intend to shoot a lot with. Number of attacks, you either want to up your crit chance, and flanking is the best way, so stack lots of crit bonuses to kind of guarantee your crit, or you want to take lots of shots, and a gunslinger of course would be best with this. Beagle pointed out that one of the secrets to the sharpshooter class is that while you can't upgrade your pistol by more than just getting a new pistol, you can't mod it like you can other ones, you need to use the PCS and your pockets to equip ammunition that was really powerful with the gunslinger build, because the pistol can be fired so many times that it can trigger that ammunition special bonus numerous times per round, sometimes as many as 4, 5. Yeah, I think you can get up to 5 attacks per round. So if you're poisoning 3 different targets, or you're fishing for critical hits 5 different times, then that crit bonus and extra crit damage is really going to pay off a lot. Tracer rounds, these added 10 aim. They seem like they're good when you have either low aim characters, or you're using another set of weapon mods and don't have room for a scope because you want those other abilities more. The tracer rounds can make up for a lack of scope on characters that still need to be accurate, or on inaccurate characters you can stack it all. Could be important on maybe especially Overwatch centric people. Tracer rounds, we saw Beagle equip those on his specialists because they can really go heavy into Overwatch. I think they might be good on the cannon type weapons if you're going Shredder, because you need those basic shots to hit. Venom rounds we've heard of. I didn't see them. I assume they have a chance to poison, which is awesome because it will deal damage, and it probably screws with mobility and aim. Medikits. we saw, 1 second, medikits granted immunity to poison when equipped, which is awesome, and a nice thing to know. They also have 1 charge, and they heals for 4 points initially. I'm sure there's going to be improved medikits that'll make that more, because you're going to need it when you have more health later in the game. Or they can be used to stabilize bleeding out ally who's been downed but is not dead. They also remove burning, poison, and acid on the target, which is great, because that can be far more than 4 health healed. You can also save them from taking 6 or 7 more damage. I think burning deals quite a bit of damage. So medikit's really important. You're gonna need them. Just get used to it. All right. Let's talk about heavy weapons then. Heavy weapons, we seem to see the grenade launcher. I assume that's just a big grenade. And we saw the flamethrower was the other one I saw Beagle talk about. It seems to do AoE damage and has pretty long range. It looked like most of sight range, if I'm reading the ranges correctly and comparing them to XCOM 2012. The damage was 4 to 6, which is what you expect from a kind of like higher damage effect. And it had a chance to cause panic, which is great. So the flamethrower is just going to be awesome. Anyone who fights from mid or short range, I think the flamethrower is an excellent choice. Since robotic enemies are going to be resistant or immune, you're going to want other ways to deal with those, but they could definitely save your butt early in the game when you're fighting a lot of advent, maybe berserkers. The higher will enemies will of course be more resistant to panic. You'll just have to figure out which ones those are, maybe through autopsies, definitely through experimentation. But yeah, that's an excellent weapon. It was a great weapon for locking down enemies for a turn or two and saving you from their return fire in previous games. So let's talk about weapon mods then. So the weapon mods we've seen have been, well, there's the repeater, which is an interesting one. It is an X% chance to instantly kill your target no matter how much health they have when you hit them. It seemed to go like 5, 10, maybe there's probably a 15% chance one out there, maybe a 20% chance, but I don't know. So this is best with multiple attacks. Too bad you can't get it on your pistol. And of course, if you're looking at what weapon to put it on, the standard rifle is a good one, as Beagle pointed out, because it deals the least damage. And so you turn that least damaging attack of all of your soldiers' weapons into the most damaging, an instant kill. He favored it a lot on his Overwatch heavy specialists, because the specialist can take, I believe it's called Guardian, the ability that if they make a successful Overwatch attack, they have a 50% chance, a coin flip, to receive the ability to make another Overwatch shot, ad infinitum. So that's a nice to have but strong addition to focusing on Overwatch. You would also want to up your aim, because Overwatch isn't that easy to hit in the first place, maybe with tracer rounds, maybe with a scope. And of course you'd want to up your ammunition count so that you didn't have 0 ammunition, or add an autoloader so that you could reload quickly for that particular class. An autoloader might be the best. It gives you, I'll go over that in a little bit, but it gives you free reloads. It might be the best because you don't want to spend one of your specialist actions on reloading in the middle of combat, because they actually, since they can use their gremlin as their first action without ending their turn, they can then go into Overwatch or attack with their second action. And so when you there's no room for reload there. You want to be as effective as possible, as long as possible in combat, and those free reloads could really make that happen. Of course, if you have the expanded magazine and you roll really lucky and you get like 4 Overwatch shots, or you would, but you run out of ammo because you only had 3, that would be kind of sad, but I wouldn't really count on that happening. still. We saw the scope. This just adds a flat amount of aim. I'm sure it's 5, 10, 15 aim. Best used on characters that don't naturally come with the aim, or on characters that often function with an aim penalty, like sharpshooters in the squad sight aim penalty. Anyone who fights at close range probably doesn't need the scope, especially if you're flanking and they don't have cover. You're going to want to go for the laser sight, which adds crit chance. I'm sure it's 5, 10, 15 crit chance. Laser sight plus Talon rounds and flanking are going to like guarantee your crit almost, as well as increase the damage with the Talon rounds. And that's probably what you want on your ranger, your highly mobile flanky flank ranger. But hey, anything that you get to fire a lot, the crit chance would be good. And remember that when you upgrade the specialist class in the guerrilla tactics school, they gain the ability to crit on Overwatch, so then you might start looking into the laser sight for them as well, and they'll have a chance to instantly kill or perhaps crit their target all the time. So let's see what's left. The hair trigger. This is an interesting one. It gives you a % chance to make your attack a freebie. That is, it takes no action. Probably a 5, 10, 15% chance. 10% was the one we saw on the advanced hair trigger. This is when there's no better mod. When a soldier doesn't need anything in particular, you might put the hair trigger on there, and you might get a hair trigger, I don't know, every other mission or every 3rd or 4th mission. It's not going to happen much. It's just nice to have. You're like, I don't need anything else. Let me go with hair trigger. I've already got a scope. Like, I think the weapons can have up to 3 mods at the higher tiers. The tier 2 weapons, the magnetic weapons, seem to only have 2 mod slots. Hair trigger probably best on rangers who rely on proximity to allow their attacks to be good, and only need that plus crit chance. They don't need aim. They don't need instant chance to kill because you're not risking it with them. So the hair trigger is nice. It's a nice to have. I wouldn't put it anywhere where you can think of something that will be more useful more often. Note that it would be especially nice on a sniper because their attack normally takes up 2 whole turns of theirs, especially on a sniper who is also a gunslinger. If you just happen to luck out and get a free sniper shot, and then you could take like 5 more pistol shots, that would be amazing. But not something to rely on, and of course those circumstances are few and far between. The stock item is interesting. It gives you X amount of damage guaranteed when you miss. So you either hit and deal full damage, or when you miss you get a consolation amount of damage and a hit. Now this Beagle didn't feel that this was like the best. It kind of, it kind of emphasized it. Yeah, it was for people who are gonna miss. Is how he felt about it. I don't know. I obviously haven't played the game. Beagle has, and Beagle is just as skilled at the game as I am on most occasions, and I really trust his gut instincts. He is a really strong player of the game, and I respect that. The stock, I would think that unless if your cannon attack has Shredder, I might consider putting a stock on that, if you can, since that would guarantee that you always shredded armor. I don't know if it can guarantee chain shots or these other attacks. Like, I'm not sure what it works with. If it doesn't work with, if it doesn't synergize with the perks that it seems like it should, like shredding, like Overwatch, like suppression, or what's the sniper, serial? I just don't know. But I would be really careful to look for synergies where you could just pop away. Plus, if you think about it, stock can be a substitute for aim. You can take shots that are going to miss, and you will still deal damage. Like I think a stock could guarantee, it's kind of like the combat protocol for the sharpshooter, except on your weapon instead of a perk choice of a class. Like, you could swap it out, but always having someone who would do a guaranteed 2 damage, you know, to make sure you can remove their overwatch or to make sure you can finish off that really badly wounded person. I think the stock has a lot of value because it's guaranteed damage. And that was just impossible to get in XCOM before, and I think that it's a very strong move in this one, especially if you yourself aren't a highly skilled XCOM player. The stock can probably go a long way, letting you guarantee that you can wear down and kill enemies, no matter how badly the RNG hates you. And the RNG will hate you. Lastly, the expanded magazine is something we saw. This adds ammo capacity on top of your standard ammo capacity. It looked like 2, 3, maybe 4 ammo was what you could get. The best targets are characters that use... there's also the autoloader, so this isn't lastly. So, okay, so let's talk about these two together. Autoloader, on the other hand, gives you X number of free reloads per mission. That is, when you reload, it does not take an action the first X times each mission. So the magazine gives you a higher total ammo capacity, which refills completely every time you do reload. And the autoloader refills whatever your ammo capacity is, including if it's expanded, all the way for free a couple times per mission. These have different uses. The expanded magazine is good if you can take a lot of shots in one turn. Fortunately for the gunslinger, pistols don't have ammo, so you can use as many pistol shots as you want per turn. And you can overwatch even when your sniper rifle is out of ammo. Sharpshooters can never be denied overwatch from lack of ammo. But a good example of when the autoloader, when the expanded magazine trumps the autoloader, is for perks or abilities that allow you to fire a lot of ammo in a single round, especially multiple overwatch shots. The kill zone ability of the sharpshooter is going to let you take as many overwatch shots in the cone area that you've designated as possible, and it activates both when enemies move and when they attack. So that's a lot of shots. If you trap 3 or 4 targets in there, you can expect at least 3 to 4 attacks. And if you trap 6, which probably doesn't look too hard, you're going to need a ton of ammo to capitalize on that skill. An autoloader isn't going to do it because you're going to have 3, 4 ammo in your weapon. And autoloader is only going to let you reload at the beginning of your next turn, whereas expanded magazine can up your ammo capacity to 6 or 7, and you can actually capitalize on every single opportunity offered you. The autoloader, on the other hand, is a bit better. So the autoloader eventually starts giving you no bonus, right? After you use it up, it's gone. It's a limited use effect, but it's very powerful for characters that can do a lot of things effectively with their actions. Specifically, your sharpshooter, if they don't have a lot of ways to exhaust their sniper ammo, then an autoloader might be perfect because they generally need 2 rounds to fire their sniper rifle, and that doesn't leave any room for reloading. Specialists are also a good candidate since they can often use a gremlin and then go into overwatch or attack or move or whatever. They can often be really effective with both of their actions, so an autoloader makes more sense for them because they don't, especially if you don't have the Guardian ability. If you're not going to be firing a lot of ammo, then the autoloader is probably better. It gives you more of an instant effect. I think Grenadier's cannons are really good with autoloaders because Grenadiers need to be really flexible with their actions, especially if you have salvo. You could fire your heavy weapon, you could use all your ammo on special abilities because Grenadier abilities often cost a lot of ammo, and then you could reload again next turn. Now, expanded magazine is going to be fine for these characters too, but you're just not going to be able to pack in as much. The autoloader just increases your efficiency for a couple of rounds, which is really, really powerful in the middle of combat. Whereas expanded magazine over the course of a mission is going to give you many more shots. Because reloading is fairly easy in XCOM, I would, yeah, you'll be torn. You'll just have to see which one you like the best and think carefully about how much ammo you can actually expend per round and your weapon's general ammo capacity. So, the last things I want to talk about were the classes themselves. We've covered this while we covered all the items. Those are all the items. There is this thing called the Skulljack. There's been a little bit of hushiness about it. They don't want to reveal too much. But reading the description, it lets you stun and hack enemy advent soldiers, I believe. From melee range. It's a melee weapon. I think it increases your hack chance generically for all your hacking, but with a high hack chance you can extract information from live advent soldiers and then it kills them, which seems really interesting. That's a plot device. That might be one of the good reasons to bring the standard armor on your hacking specialist, plus the fact that the specialist needs med kits and the Skulljack and tracer rounds so they can hit and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, you really want to stack hack on someone, because I'm telling you, hacking is going to be way, way too powerful if you can get like guaranteed hacking or really high hack percentages. And then of course medikits are really good too. So looking at the Ranger, let's go over each class again and just take a look. You're going to want to focus on health, mobility, and dodge. You can ditch mobility if you have run and gun and you're using mid-range weapons. It's not going to be too hard. Or you're using close-range weapons and you don't mind them taking some shots. You can focus on defense instead of mobility. But if they're using that sword, mobility is almost certainly going to be the way to go. To get them into and then away from combat is going to be really important, especially since they can get free moves. The more move actions you can get, if you have a character that can get free move actions, mobility is going to be awesome. I'm not sure if the PCS mobility boost also applies to your grapple. Generally, the grapple is going to be like a set distance, but the grapple is going to be a really good way for the Ranger to close the distance. You will be really surprised about what you can use it on. Now, you can be too aggressive with the grapple and trigger lots of alien pods as well. So cautious, remember, line of sight control. But when you need to get somewhere, grapple can really help you do it and get somewhere with actions. Free actions for the Ranger, anything that allows free actions, are going to allow safety, distance closing, and effective slaughtering of your foes. So the grapple, the hair trigger, all these things are going to be nice. They're not going to need too many other bonuses on their weapon because they're going to be at point blank range and flanking, which is a massive boost to weapon effectiveness. The sharpshooter, remember that the PCS is one of the primary ways of boosting your pistol, as well as ammunition types, because you do not get weapon mods on your pistol. Also, your pistol can't run out of ammo, which is another nice thing. Ammo type, let's see, free actions are also going to be awesome for them. The auto loader, hair trigger, grapple especially, because sharpshooters are going to need to be well positioned, and the grapple as a free action could allow you to grapple up to behind some cover, if it's like not cover that takes up a whole square, but just like a fence or a little like railing or something. You could grapple from the ground up to it, still have two actions to take a sniper shot, or even your pistol shots, because the accuracy is going to compound per the number of attacks you get from up there. So the grapple will be really powerful in sharpshooters for a number of reasons, especially because it's free. And then again, with kill zone, you're going to want expanded magazines. Possibly also with serial, though maybe not as much. And of course, I think sharpshooters are going to have a good chance at critical hits. So things that boost your critical hits could be quite nice, especially if you're going pure sniper. For Grenadier, I suggest you bring a variety of explosives and heavy weapons. I suggest you bring the heavy armor, especially if you go salvo, which is awesome, and I think you should almost always take. And because you want explosives for every moment. And of course, since your grenade launcher is going to increase the radius of your explosives, then you're going to want high radius acid grenades so that you can shred all the armor in the area. You're going to high area plasma grenades deal good damage and good shredding to like a moderately armored level. Since their grenade launcher increases the effect of the grenades, you're going to want a lot of different grenades for different purposes. You might want the flamethrower because it can hit more enemies in a particular circumstance than a grenade could. Or the, I'm sure there's all sorts of cool stuff. Remember that if you take Shredder, you have to actually hit them with your cannon, scopes, personal combat stims that increase aim, help with shredding, helps with chain shot, help with landing that rupture. The stock is there for you. The stock might help. I think the autoloader is a really good idea for flexibility for this class. Though, if you have the really ammo hogging abilities, you may find you need an expanded magazine just to use them or to use them in fire. I think the autoloader is going to allow you to put a lot of punch in at a very specific times for your character. It really kind of depends. I'm kind of curious if it's always your first X reloads or if you get to choose when you use your free reloads, because if you get to choose, it's going to be a lot more flexible. Finally, the specialist, you're going to stack hacking on at least one specialist in every group, because hacking is so good and the bonuses you can get can be strategic as well as tactical, which is just outstanding. If you go Guardian or whatever it is that gives you multiple Overwatch shots, which I think I suggested, because the alternative really didn't seem all that useful, then by all means focus on aim, crit chance once you've unlocked the ability for specialists to crit on Overwatch, and anything else that that enhances your basic attack, like the repeater's ability to instantly kill targets. Alright guys, that is it for day 20. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the stuff we didn't talk about today, initial research, finishing off alien pods, and just general thoughts about XCOM 2's upcoming release, and maybe some teasers about what's coming up on day 24. Also, I know I am behind a day. I'm going to fix that soon this week, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles with blizzards and visiting family and stuff. So, until next time, farewell.